Welcome to ASMR Chess. D4 by Liren in Game 6. This was just played today in the World Chess Championship. Knight to F6 from Nepo. And guys, this is the best World Chess Championship I have ever seen. Knight to F3. We have had 6 games so far, and 4 of them has been decisive, including this beautiful game from today. 4 decisive games out of 6. That is something else than the 12 draws we saw in the 2018 World Chess Championship between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana. That was 12 draws. Now we already have 4 decisive games. But who is going to win? Jan has already won a game with black, but Ding has also won with white. So everything can happen. What I will tell you without spoiling too much is that the game ends in just a picture perfect checkmate. And one of the players plays the coldest move that I have maybe ever seen. And it's just the end of this game is just perfect. Okay, so D5 from Nepo. And bishop to F4, the London system that many lower-rated players, such as myself, consider a bit of a boring opening because many lower elo players play it just because it's easy to remember, it's hard to have concrete ideas against for black, and it avoids a lot of theory. And a positional super genius like Liren plays it, it's not because he doesn't want to remember theory. It's because it allows him to get in to some games that can hopefully allow him to showcase his just mastery over what we call positional chess. But we see from Nepo, C5, just challenging right away. This is the way to combat the London system. These kind of moves, they're kind of passive. So black is almost treating this as Nepo is almost saying, no, okay, if you're just going to be passive, I will play as if I had the white pieces and I will be aggressive. To not let Ding get away with this for free. The pawn is attacked, it's just defended actually, E3. And knight to C6 from Nepo. Knight on B to D2, not to C3. There is a variation of the London system called the Jubava London, where named after controversial player Bahadur Jubava, who, when you have to play it earlier, I believe that it's not good to play the knight to C3 now. So it's a little bit too late to get into the Bahadur Jubava London. So knight B to D2. That was what Ding had planned. And then we see C takes D, exchanging these pawns. E takes D. So Nepo is just being a little bit assertive here, saying, okay, we exchange these 2 pawns, but the pawn that I give up here is a flank pawn, less important than the one you give up, which is a center pawn, actually the one in front of your king. So being a little bit aggressive, that is how you play against the London system. And now he plays bishop to F5. And at the press conference, Liren said something that blew my mind. He said that he was now out of book, meaning that he had, of course, studied the London in preparation for the World Championship. He wanted to play it. And this particular line, he hadn't looked at more than here. This was a new position to him. And when somebody who has been rated over 2800 and is a super grandmaster and just an absolute genius say that they are out of book, it's not the same as when I am out of book or when you are out of book. Like, he knows a couple of games with this, and he knows stuff about this. So, these people, they live in sort of in a special space where they only talk to other geniuses, and you'll hear them say, oh, I don't know anything about this position except like from this analysis from the 80s, and then Bobby Fischer in the 70s played this thing, and so they have, when a good chess player say they don't know anything about a certain position, don't take it at face value. Nevertheless, that was what he said. And here, then he played c3, solidifying this pawn here. But also, when you see bishop come out here early, you very often want to be able to play queen b3, because the bishop is no longer protecting on b7 here, and you can have like an attack here and here. So that's also a reason why Ding plays c3 and e6, and we see sort of the difference, and that's between black and white. That's also in this game sort of the canvas upon which this masterpiece will be painted, this masterpiece of chess, because we have these 3 pawns here on the queen side connected, and on the king side we have these 3 pawns. So what does this difference mean for how this game will develop? Let's investigate. Let's look at the moves. Bishop to b5, pinning the knight. Also, this is the recommended move. This is what the chess computers like. This is what the pioneers of the London system like Karakamsky, Alexander Grischuk, Magnus Carlsen recommends this move here. So maybe he knows a little bit more about the system that he lets on. Also, maybe he's just coming up with it on the fly because he is like a very amazing player. Also, it's kind of a natural move. You want to develop the bishop so you can castle. I mean, it's not necessarily rocket science. Here we see what I think is a very logical move, but it has been met with some critique. Bishop to d6. And the critique, you can say, is basically that this is a good bishop because it's not hemmed in by these pawns. These pawns are light squares. This is a dark squared bishop. And this allows white to exchange, which is what Ding does. He plays bishop takes bishop on d6. This is, of course, immediately recaptured. Queen takes d6. And what's the difference? Why isn't this necessarily a completely even trade? Well, black's dark squared bishop was not hemmed in by the pawns. But white's dark squared bishop could potentially be a little weaker because it doesn't have that much maneuverability because of these pawns. And now these pawns on the dark squares may be able to start a positional grind and say we are going to control the dark squares on the queen side, and it will be hard for you, Jan Nepomniachtchi, it will be hard for you to actually do something about that because you don't have the dark squared bishop to fight for control over these dark squares. And Fabiano Caruana was quite critical of this move by Jan. The Stockfish, the computer says it's completely fine, but there you have it. Then now we can castles. And I guess this is time for a little ad break. Do you want to play chess on the same piece design that Nepo and Liren are playing with? Well, you are in luck. These handcrafted super premium pieces, you can buy them with a 10% discount if you use the link in the description and the promo code ASMRChess10. It also helps the channel. Just thought I should mention that. Let's go back to the game. And our rook to e1. So what is that about? That is about this square right here, the e5 square. We would like to put something like a knight here, and we would like it to be very well protected. So we have the rook here. To back it up, you'll actually see that in just a short while why that is so important. So Nepo plays h6. This is like one of these Karpovian maneuvering positional strategical moves, just improving the position just ever so slightly. Now you can go here with the knight. All of a sudden the bishop could have an escape square if it needs it. And the king, like in 10 moves, 15 moves, the king may want in sort of a priest tunnel out of the castle. We call it creating Luft means air in German. A lot of the chess vocabulary is German. So it's a sort of an escape route. It's a very deep positional idea. But can now play knight here. Knight to e5. And this is the first real question being asked. So, first of all, can we capture it? Because this knight is attacking this knight, and this bishop is attacking here. This knight is attacking here, and the bishop is attacking here. So we can't recapture with the queen. So let's say we just to illustrate what white is fighting for here, we will give white like the magical god fairy of chess, the Kaisa, goddess of chess, will come down and grant white an extra move. We can see bishop takes knight, and we can't recapture with the queen, so we recapture with the pawn. And what is this like? Why is this so good for white? Because of the move b4, pawn to b4. And now this pawn here, it will never be able to move. It will be captured. Okay, so this pawn is weak now. And here, white is basically positionally winning the game. White will just need a way, find some way, like get rid of this bishop so we get access to this square for the knight, and get over here with the knight. Or find any way to put any of these two knights on this square where it can never really be attacked. It can be recharged maybe like this, and it will just be it will be like putting Nepo in the meat grinder, and just he will be ground down here from here. There's a positional winning, strategical winning position. So it's very important that we do not allow that as black. Could we then maybe capture the knight? Knight takes knight. Well, here we see why rook e1 was so good. Because pawn takes knight. Now we have a fork going on. The pawn is attacking the queen and the knight. So you could superficially say that black will be losing a piece. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated. Queen b6 attacks this piece. Pawn takes knight. We win a piece back. Okay. But pawn takes pawn. And king takes, but so it's equal on material. We lost, white and black lost the same amount of pieces, but this king is now very, very weak, and will be subject to attack because his castle, the integrity of his castle, has been compromised. So that will not work. all of that, I know it's a bit of a long-winded explanation maybe, but without what I just told you, it may be pretty difficult to understand what Nepo actually plays. Like, it's very sort of, he has a very good feeling for what's going on in this position. He plays knight here. Knight to e7. Because he wants to avoid both capturing the knight, which doesn't work, and he also wants to avoid being put into the positional meat grinder. And we know that Liren is very good at those, grinding games, grinding their opponents down, his opponents down. But Ding is saying, okay, I'm going to play here on the queen side. I will try to establish my dominance over here. Plays a4. And here we see a mistake maybe from black. a6 looks very, very innocent. It's the kind of move that if I hadn't listened to somebody analyze this game and spent a couple hours analyzing it myself with the computer and stuff, I would just say that's just a perfectly normal move. But on a deep, deep level, it's problematic for black. So let me show you why. So bishop f1 looks like it's good for black, just chasing the pieces back. And now Nepo plays knight to d7. But here's the problem. Ding plays knight takes knight on d7. Okay, trading a forward piece from a backward piece should be good for black. Queen takes knight. And here it is. Just a small move here. a5. How cool is that? It looks, then you put it on the board, then you can see, oh, wait a minute. Now this single pawn is taking care of these two pawns. Because if you try to advance, I'll just capture. And I hope that you know the en passant rule, If you try to do this, I can still capture. That rule is called en passant. And some people believe that it is so good that it is even forced. That's just a chess meme, but it's kind of funny. And now, can you remember all the stuff we talked about? The c5 square. If we can't play b6 basically ever, how are we going to challenge a knight potentially coming here? That's going to be a big, big problem. This beautiful, beautiful concept. Both very, very deep, but also kind of simple. The kind of simple idea, playing on the dark squares. Okay, so what can we do? Good move by Jan, queen to c7. Looking at the pawn, it's protected by the rook, but we are going to play at some point knight c6. So we want the queen to be looking at the pawn so we can come in and capture. But we are also looking at c3. So there's no b4. This is the move that Ding is just dreaming to play this move. But of course, as soon as we move this c pawn, queen can come in and capture. As soon as we move the b pawn, queen can come in and capture the c pawn. Okay. And here it's one of these just genius moves, queen to f3. It's not like a Mikhail Tal sacrifice fireworks. It's, I imagine Tigran Petrosyan, or like not the meme guy, but the actual world champion, or Karpov or Capablanca, like some of these old positional geniuses looking at this and saying, yes, that is how chess should be played. It's a kind of a move that just does so many things. It protects here. That's one of the things, so that we can look at playing this again. But also, it's actually, in some cases, it's relevant that it attacks the bishop, even though the bishop is protected a bunch of times. Sometimes it can come to g3, and they're actually going to be checkmate threats just coming out of nowhere. And I don't have, I could spend 2 hours just trying to explain this move and trying to understand it myself, but this is where we have to go to. I recommend maybe going to the C Squared podcast with Fabiano Caruana if you want a super grandmaster to analyze and just be ready for a crazy amount of detail because he is like a super genius. So some of the stuff he says may go a little bit over our heads, but it's a good resource. Now rook on f to c8, and it looks strange if we don't know that it's all about, playing b4. Now, this is attacked twice, only defended once, so we can't play b4. Which also helps us understand why Ding plays rook to a3. Just all about this c-pawn, all about this plane, all about getting this knight here in a safe way, and then you would be basically positionally winning. So rook to a3, and bishop back here. Bishop to g6. It's a very slow move. It's about, we want to play this knight to c6 and coming here. And the knight had a little bit of a job protecting the bishop. Just a little bit. It was also protected by this pawn, but that it could get into trouble in some variations. So just bishop g6 first. And now the knight begins the journey. And we see knight to b3. This also looks after the a5 pawn, meaning that when the knight comes to c6, as we see from Nepo's side, well, both of the knights are looking at it. We have the rook and the queen looking at it. So for this particular moment in time, the pawn is adequately defended. Just in time by Ding. And we see here queen to g3. And this is one of the reasons the queen came to f3 was it wanted access to this diagonal here. And we're offering up a queen trade. And maybe actually Jan should have accepted this. But that would just be sort of masochist thing to do, because queen takes queen. Let's just look at it. Pawn takes. Now white just has all the play and black has none of the play, and I'm not sure what black can do to stop the knight coming here and the pawn coming here, and maybe there is some insane computer way to hold this, but it's very, very tough and not very human. I think the commentators also said, it's you don't want to sit there and suffer for 2 hours against a genius with no counterplay whatsoever, with no queens on the board. So instead we saw queen e7. And this is Jan's bid for counterplay, because he's an active player. When he wins, he usually wins in these like very impressive dynamic attacking games. And he doesn't have a lot of counterplay. He's locked in behind his pawn structure, because this machine here is just, very slowly, it's like he's like pouring cement into his boots so he can't move. So he wants to break free. With this pawn push. So he's wants to put the queen here to support it, put the rook here later, support this pawn push, open up the game, get some attacking chances. But when the queen moves away, and then we see h4 from Ding, just tightening the screws, playing on both sides of the board, saying, hey, I might be done over here for now, attack your king a little bit, or you're putting resources to defend your king, I may just go over and tighten the screws a little bit over here. Just stretch your defenses thin. And I saw on the commentary like a couple of super grandmasters were very, very impressed by this move here. And I am as well. Now rook to e8. This is much more easy to understand. This is about supporting this pawn coming forward and getting counterplay. And once this pawn is here, we can start thinking about the f pawn, start thinking about an attack. But knight finally lands on c5. This square it has been destined to go to, the square it has been dreaming to go to, because it doesn't need to look after the a5 pawn, because only the knight is now attacking it, so the rook is adequate to defend that. So it can look at the king. Hey, I'm coming for you. And it is. It is, but will Jan be able to defend that and turn the tide? That's the interesting thing. Okay, this is the moment where he breaks. Pawn to e5. And this doesn't threaten, by the way, to capture here, because the queen would be lost to the rook here. Okay, so the point is we want to go forward. And also the point is there's no pawn takes, because queen takes knight. But Ding had like a whole different defensive slash attacking slash whoa, this is high level chess idea. He then played rook b3. Okay. This allows knight to capture on a5, attacking the rook. So why? Because now the knight has moved. Knight is no longer attacking or defending e5, so rook takes on e5. No time to capture this rook, because this rook, my lady, wins the tempo on the queen. So the queen has to go to f6. And now what? Now what? This rook here is attacked by the knight. And like if you try to go here, you just get forked here and here. So the only move that white has is to go back with the rook. And here we see knight c5. And the difference between white and black in a little bit is that when black establishes, you can see like these two knights. Hello. Did you notice that I'm kind of like your twin brother now? Because you are on c5, I'm on c4. It's kind of the same. Yeah, but did you notice the sniper over there? The sniper. Right. This knight can't be dislodged. The knight here could. That's the difference. Jan, of course, knew this. It's defended. It's not like he didn't see the bishop, but that's the positional difference. So knight c4, bishop takes c4, and the pawn takes on c4. And h5 attacking the bishop looks very, very, very beautiful, because the pawn here is now protected by the rook. We imagine the bishop will have to go back, and we can continue with the attack. In actuality, Ding had an incredible resource here that he missed, but nobody blames him. And here it is. I'll just show you a way to alleviate the very significant pressure and go for a draw here. Maybe he just didn't want to go for a draw. Maybe he even saw it, but I don't think so. I think with black in this position, being ground down, you can see Ding has an inspired day. He's playing really, really good moves. If you have a chance to force a draw, keep the lead, then I guess you would go for it. But maybe not. So rook takes rook. And he probably discarded this variation because pawn takes. And now the queen has to go somewhere, so you just think, okay, I have to resign because I go somewhere and then you capture my bishop. Right? But the idea is check, king here, check, and either it's a perpetual, you just go back and forth, or you could say, well, I can just block with the queen, yes, but then you're actually losing because queen takes here, check, something, and we capture the knight. And now black is actually winning. So white would have to accept the perpetual, and it would have been a draw. And then that means that we couldn't actually capture the bishop here, meaning that white's attack wasn't as strong. White was still doing great, still, a little bit better, but that was the way to try to get the draw. Let's see if I can remember where all these pieces were. Queen on f6, bishop here, we had rook here, we had a pawn here, we had a rook here, we had a knight here. I guess that's about it. So either Jan didn't see it or he wanted to keep his winning chances alive. Somehow he played bishop to c2. Well, here there is a beautiful tactical, practical, cool sequence to actually win this pawn. Knight takes on b7, which Ding played. It looks like, and in many other variations, this didn't work out because queen to b6, which is what Jan also played, looks like, okay, that attacks the knight, and the knight goes back, and then we win. Like, knight goes here, we win here, this is attacks the rook has to go somewhere, and we're starting, to massage this backward c-pawn here a little bit, and we have a lot of counterplay. So, after queen b6, we didn't see knight back where it was protected. Instead we saw knight to d6, where it isn't protected, except it is, because you can't play this. Why? Can you see why? Actually pretty simple, just rook takes, check, rook takes, and now nobody is protecting Her Majesty, and that will end in checkmate pretty soon. You can't survive against Liren without a queen, or like being down a queen. That's not going to work out. So, I guess this is the position. And also you could say, well, I can then capture maybe on b2, because you can capture my rook, but your rook is hanging. You could say that would be the way for black to get counterplay, except that this knight is deadly. It's looking at g7, and this position would actually just be checkmate. Okay, so not simple. Not simple at all. Like so. Right. So you just can't come and capture here. You can't capture here. But maybe there was a way to just deal with all the problems by playing what Jan played now. Because he saw all of that. And he started by rook takes rook. And queen takes rook. And now there is queen takes b2. Interesting. Very interesting. The rook is attacked. And this c pawn here, with the queen out of the way, it was here on f3 and on g3 to protect here with the queen out of the way and the rook out of the way. Very soon we may be able to capture the c pawn. Rook a5. It's a brilliant move by Ding, but it's also kind of forced. So it is the best move, but when he was calculating all of this, did he have an answer to queen takes c3? Actually, he did. There is actually a very, very cool move that just shuts the light, turns off the light on white here. You can actually just play, on black I mean, you can actually play knight e8. It's a threatening checkmate, and you have to give up the rook. Rook takes knight, queen takes with check, and then you put, so I can actually put it on the board. To avoid the checkmate, you have to play rook takes, queen takes, that's check, you go here, and now the rook is attacked. After all of this, you just put it here, and you have you've up the exchange, the king is exposed, and your black is totally winning here. So you can't take on c3, is what we can conclude, because this knight here is kind of magic. Okay, is that the position? I believe it is. So again, Jan sees all of this, and he says, okay, but no, I'm not going to allow you this cool attack. I'm going to play king h7. So we can check on e8. We can play knight here, and then takes, and then it won't be check. And you remember at the end of the other variation, we ended up playing rook here, so it wouldn't be attacked, so it couldn't be captured by the queen here. Ding plays that now. That's actually a mistake. He goes from having a very good position, plus 2.5 is what Stockfish says, kind of like a winning position, to just having only an advantage, significant advantage, but not necessarily winning. Because now the pawn on c3 is actually in trouble. And in order for Ding to keep his advantage, he had to play queen d1. Very unnatural move. You're doing all this cool attacking stuff. You have the magical knight. The rook is ready to swing in, and then you use the most powerful piece to protect the base of the pawn chain. But without this pawn chain, your very significant part of your advantage will be gone. And very, very curiously, after rook c5, Jan Nepomniachtchi did not capture here. He didn't. Maybe he trusted Ding. Maybe he had looked at queen takes c3 in so many variations where it didn't work, because it would just be disaster again and again and again in all these other variations, including a bunch I haven't even shown. So maybe he was just dismissed it, like it's not going to work. It's never going to work. So he played queen c1 check instead, forcing king h2. And, well, playing against Liren, you're not going to get too many of those chances. So let's see what happens in the game. We see f6. It's very important. We have this bishop here, so the queen can't, for instance, play check, pick up, check against the king, pick up the rook. We have the bishop here. Very important, helping out protecting the king. So queen goes back to g3. Now the pawn is protected. The queen is looking at g7. And this queen here, a bit of the theme of the game. There's been a couple of themes, but one of them is the queen coming to f3 and g3, and just being able to just utilize her awesome power as a checkmating nuclear deterrent attack against the king, but also be able to threaten a queen trade when necessary, to get in on the diagonal and influence all of the board, and also protect the king and the base of the pawn chain. It's just, the queen is a good piece, but she's better when you use all of her powers at once, and that is what Ding is doing right here. It's extremely impressive. And Jan is saying, yeah, you have all of that going on, but you know what I have? I have an outside passed pawn. And he plays a5, saying, I'm just going to make a queen. I'm going to have 2 queens. What are you going to do about that? Ding is playing knight takes c4. Is it about, I'm going to stop this pawn here, capture? No. It's beautiful. It's beautiful what this knight is doing. So a4 is just coming here. I'm not going, no. Playing knight e3. For one reason, and one reason only. Now the queen cannot come back to the defense of the king. The knight won't let it. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem. So it's just kind of checkmating the queen a little bit here, just making a cage. Okay, you wandered into my position, into my castle. I'm just going to trap you in my castle so you can't get back to your own castle and help your king. And Nepo played bishop b1. Kind of a wasted move. It was very, very hard to suggest a good move for black here, but that's what he played. And then just rook c7. Okay. Even I can understand that. That's a checkmate threat. Gotta protect that. Rook g8. Okay. Now knight d5. What is that about? Well, I can come in here. I can capture, that's check. And you can't recapture because this pawn is pinned, so we fork here. It's just going to be pretty easily winning. So the king goes away from that so that we can come in, because now this pawn is actually defending here. And just rook a7. Looking after the pawn, but that's not really all it does. It also vacates the c7 square, because at some point the queen would like to attack from this diagonal, and you can't get in here if the rook is on the square. So we move the rook to the most useful square, where we are looking after this pawn, but we're also attacking the king, and we're also giving access to the queen to come in. a6. Wait a minute, this pawn is getting close. You're not asleep at the wheel, are you? Like, the king is, now the queen can come back, maybe. You put the knight somewhere else, and, the pawn is coming here. Like, are you sure you know what you're doing? He seemed to believe that he knew what he was doing. At least he played knight e7. That attacks the rook. Can't have that. Okay, put the rook out of the way. No, remember this bishop. You can't just go here winning, because we chop. And now Liren plays the coldest move I have maybe ever seen. This is class, this is precise, and it's ice cold. He played d5. Why? Well, that little move attacks d6, e6. And why is that relevant? Because maybe you're thinking he's trying to queen. No. He wants to attack e6. And that's a winning move. Why? Well, let's take a look. Trying to queen the pawn. Now the queen comes in. Okay. We are now threatening just check, bishop takes, queen takes, checkmate. Okay, we can't allow the knight to move with check, so Nepo plays king to h7. We still play knight here. So we can't capture with check. We can't capture because then we recapture. But now, because this knight move isn't check, there's time to play rook g8. And here we see the final move of the game. Queen here. And now I'm going to show you the most beautiful way. The most beautiful checkmate. I remember this move here. Of course, guy like Nepo, he saw this in an instant. So I'm going to spoil the game now. He resigned, and the match is now even. It's tied at 2 wins for Liren and 2 wins for Jan Nepomniachtchi. But why did he resign? Let's say that he plays, let's say bishop c7, c2 here. Maybe you're just trying to queen here. So you're saying, okay, I will protect the queening square with my queen so I could get in, have an extra queen. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, maybe he plays that. Like this, there's no move that safe black here. Checked with the computer and everything. Because of this crazy checkmate sequence, you of course, didn't you see that? Capture the rook. Check. There's only one legal move. King takes. Rook a8. Check. And of course you don't go here. That's just checkmate. But that's not a problem. You go here. Except rook f8 is just checkmate because you can't capture the rook. It's protected by the knight. You can't go here, protected by the rook. Can't go here, protected by the knight. And you can't go here. You can't go to e6 because Liren played d5. Now that is how you end a freaking chess game. And we're only halfway through the match, and they are tied, so there's everything to play for. And these guys are humble, sincere. When they talk, they make small jokes at the press conferences. I don't know about you guys, but I am psyched for this. And remember, if you want to analyze the games or play the games with the same pieces that they play, hand-carved, super luxury pieces, super luxury chessboard, you can go to the World Chess Shop using the link in the description, put the promo code ASMR Chess in the description, and you get a 10% discount for anything they sell in the shop. Just thought I should mention that again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are enjoying chess, and I hope that you learned something or relaxed or had a good time watching this video. And I hope that I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.